guys, welcome back to my channel. This is Choma Stitches and my name is Choma, and you're welcome back to another sewing tutorial. Thank you so much for clicking on this video. Do well to stay to the end of the tutorial to learn how we made this beautiful outfit. And if you're joining us for the first time and you've not subscribed, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you get notified whenever I drop a new video. And if you're a returning subscriber, you're welcome. Thank you so much for sticking around. So let's get straight into making this beautiful bralette gown. This is a 3 yards of crepe fabric. This crepe fabric is a bit thick. So I've marked out the borders for both the front and the back. This is half of the front pattern, this is the half of the back pattern, and that's a zip allowance that I've indicated at the back, so you just note. And the half length I'm working with is 20 inches. So I'm going to be drafting a princess dart for a bralette dress. Okay, to get these borders, you divide the biggest part of the measurement you are working on by 4, and you use that measurement to mark out this place. And the biggest part of this measurement is the bust, and that is bust 41 inches. I rounded it up and I marked out 11 inches here, 11 inches here, plus 1 inch for zip allowance at the back. Now the shoulder I'm working on is 8 inches. I'm going to mark 8 inches. Come down by 1.5 inches for the shoulder slope for the front and 1 inch for the back slope. To get your armhole, you divide your bust measurement by 6 and add 1.5 inches to it. 41 inches divided by 6 plus 1.5 to the 8.3 inches. So I'm going to mark the 8.3 inches from the 1 inch shoulder slanting, okay? And I'm going to come here and mark it as 9.3 inches. I am going to connect this. This is going to be our armhole. So I'm going to be using a neckline of 3 inches by 3 inches for the purpose of this. You can just divide the bust by 12, and whatever you get, that will be the neckline. For the back depth, I'm just going to come down by 0.75 inches. While for the front, I am using the 3 by 3. 3 inches for the width, 3 inches for the depth. I'm going to use the curved part of the ruler to connect this neckline. And then I'll use the straight part of the ruler to create the shoulder slanting. For the armhole, I'm going to go up by 3.5 inches for the front, come in by half of an inch, connect it to the shoulder slanting, curve it with my armhole curve. For the back, I'm going to just divide my pattern in half. Go in by half of an inch, connect it to the shoulder slanting, so this 2 inches is the difference in half length between the front half length and the back half length. Okay, for the zipper, I'm going to take out half of an inch here to take out the gaping, okay, and then I'll slant it towards this part like so. I'm going to be marking out the dart lines, and I'm using 4 inches. That's nipple to nipple measurement. That's 8 inches divided by 2, and we have 4 inches. And for the dart, I am using 0.75 inches on both sides. That's 1.5 inches for the waist dart. I'm just going to extend this line here so I can have a guide, so that when I'm marking out my darts, it will be easy for me to create using this. Okay, this cap just helps to help you guide it. Okay, so now I'm going to input the measurement. 41 inches divided by 4 is 10.25. I'm going to mark 10.25 away from the zip allowance, obviously. Yeah, and then the waist is 31.5 inches divided by 4 will be 7.875. And I'm going to add the 1.5 inches here for that, and I have 9.37, so I can just mark 9.4. I'll connect this, and then for the front, I'm going to mark out from shoulder to the top of the bust. I'm marking 7 inches, shoulder to bust is 12 inches, and shoulder to under bust is 16 inches. So I'm just going to repeat it here: 7, 12, 16. This whole difference should tell you that the bust I'm working on is a big bust. Now I'm going to impute the nipple to nipple measurement, which is 8 inches divided by 2, 4 inches. Okay, so on the waistline here, I can take out the 1.5 inches I took out at the back. So I'm going to mark 0.75 inches on both sides. For the underbust, I'm going to mark out 0.75 inch again, and then here I am going to be making it 2 inches by extending this one to this place. This is a mistake. This is the actual dart line. Okay, so from here I can connect this like so, and then connect here like so, and then curve here to avoid any pointy lines. And then to create our armhole dart, I'm just going to extend this from the bust. I'm just going to rule with my ruler as a guide like so, and I'm going to just take it all the way out. So from here I'm going to go up by 0.3 inches, come down by 0.3 inches. So from this 0.3 inches I'm going to rule. Okay, and then I'm going to try and smoothen out this place because we do not want any pointy line. Okay, so I have taken out that part, and from here I can take out this other 0.3 inches. I'm just going to rule it to meet here. I hope this makes sense. There are different methods of achieving the same thing, so long as you get what you are working on. Okay, so I'm going to impute the bust measurement. The bust measurement is 10.25, and I'll bring it here as well. And then the underbust is 31.5 inches divided by 4 is 7.8 inches. Now you're going to be adding these 2 inches we have here, and I have 9.875 inches, so I'm going to mark like 9.875 inches. Okay, the waist is what do we have here at the waist? I'm just going to transfer this, whatever we have here. This is 9.3, so I'm going to come here and mark it as well. That's almost 9.4. Now I am going to connect this like so, here to here, here to here, and here to here. Now from here I'm going to come down by 2 inches. 2 inches is the difference between the back half length and the front half length, these 2 inches. Okay, and I'm going to just slant this all the way to meet this here, and this place will be taken out, so will this place, and here as well. Now this half an inch we've taken out from here as a dart, I'm going to replace it here. Okay, I'm going to replace it here, so I'm just going to place my curved ruler here and remark the armhole again from that place. Okay, so when you rule this, you try and connect this line so that you can take that. So we'll replace that half an inch that we've taken out from here, replace it on this place. Note that. So from here I'm going to go in by 6 inches like so. So I went in by 6 inches here, and from here I'm going to come down to say 9.5 inches. So I'm going to use my curved ruler to create a V shape. Okay, so I'm going to just curve it like this from this part of the ruler. Just going to curve this like so. I'm going to just come in by half of an inch from here. So I'm going to mark this from here and connect it. Connect from here this new line. I'm just going to connect this place from here to here. So we have a new line. I have to use a different pen so that you will see the difference in the marking. To cut this pattern out, I'm going to take out this part, center front first. And then I am going to cut out the back. Before we cut the back, we need to alter the back a little as well. I am going to alter this by going up here. I'm going to go up to say 1.3 inches here. I'm going to come up here too by 1.3 inches, and then I'll extend this to like this, to this place. You can try to make it a bit of a curve, just instead of keeping it straight so it doesn't look boring. You can just curve in, come down by half of an inch or 1 inch, and then connect it to mix here like this. So you take out like 1 inch here so it does not look boring. Okay, and then here I'm going to just mark out here like this and create the curve I want here. So this is the part I'm going to start joining from, which means I'm taking this place up, this armhole here up to cover the armhole. Okay, note that. Sorry I mentioned that late. So I'm going to cut this out now. Okay, so now that I have done this, I can now fold in the bust darts. You can just connect this to the armhole like so. So I'm going to cut this out. So this is going to be a pattern. So I'm going to go ahead and place it on the fabric, and then we'll start cutting it out. Okay, this back aligns, you can see. So to cut out the lower bodies of this dress, I am going to be cutting out the back piece first. So I've already cut my fabric into two. I divided the fabric that was left into two, equal half. Okay, so this is the back piece. I've cut it in half, and I'm just going to go ahead and leave the opening where I want the zipper to stop, and then I'll go ahead and sew the other part, that's the 1 inch zipper allowance, all the way to the down part. Now for the front piece, we're going to be giving it a slit, and so to create that slit, I'm going to be dividing the fabric into three, and then I'll cut it open. Now if you want the slit to be in the middle, you just divide the fabric into two. Now I want the slit to be on the laps, on top of the laps, on one side of the dress, obviously, but in this case towards the left side. After cutting it open, I am going to join it again, but this time I am going to sew from the top and stop wherever I want the slit to start. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and sew it with 1 inch and leaving the opening, because the opening we are going to be hemming it to give it neat finishing. To save time, I have cut out the upper bodies and I added sewing allowance for both the front piece and the back piece. On the center front, I added the extended part of it where we are going to be using to tie it on the shoulder. While for the back, I am going to be extending it by adding the rope. It will help for consistency if you make the rope the same length with the extension on the center front. And then we're going to go ahead and start joining the bust area. We're going to join this, and then for the back piece, we're going to take out the darts. I will transfer the darts from the pattern paper to the fabric. Using your tape, you can measure out the dart lines from the pattern paper, know exactly where it starts and where it stops, and on what position it is on the body, so you can transfer it accurately. In my own case, I've taken out the measurements, that is why I am transferring it very accurately. Measure it so that you have the same thing on both sides of the back piece. I have another tutorial on this channel that has a little bit of similarity to this, and I'm going to drop a link to it in the description box. Do well to check it out. I'm taking out the pattern paper so I can start joining the pieces. In this case, you are going to start joining lining piece to lining piece, main fabric to main fabric. I used the same fabric to cut out the lining piece, and this is because I wanted the same consistency with the lining piece and the main fabric. You can do the same thing or use another fabric to cut it out. Now I'm using the leftover fabric to cut out the band I'm going to be putting at the back, the one that is going to be used to make the bow that will tie it on the shoulder. Okay, so like I said, you can make the length of the one you are adding the same thing with the one you've added in the front, that's the extension in the center front. Or you can, if you decide to make this one longer, make sure you add extra to the one in the center front. This is where I'm going to be attaching it on the back piece. I'm going to cut out another one because we need two for each side. So I'm going to join it on the top and sew the side so that I will not turn it inside out before I attach it. Now using the leftover fabric and I'm placing my hand, I'm just going to trace out a pocket design, okay, and then I'm going to cut it open. You're going to cut 4 pieces of this because you need 4 pieces of it to make a pocket for each side. So I have cut that part out. I'm going to cut out the second part of the rope that I need for the back piece. So I placed the initial one I cut out on top of it and used it as my pattern to trace out the second one. Okay, so I made sure I exhausted my 3 yards of fabric that I have. So like I said, I am cutting this pattern with 3 yards of fabric. Now using the leftover fabric to cut out the designs, that's the applique, more like, well, I call it petals now because like they are full circle, so just in smaller quantities. So I'm going to go ahead and cut it out and I'll exhaust the leftover fabric. So I'm going to cut as many as possible. You can make it as many as possible, like whatever quantity you have. As you can see, what I cut out is not a perfect circle. I wanted to reshape it, but then I decided since I'm not going to, it doesn't have to be perfect circle, so this is how it's going to be on the dress. It's going to dangle, so I'm going to place it all around the dress, the lower bodice. Okay, so you can cut as many as possible. So like I said, I exhausted the 3 yards of fabric. You can also use a chalk to indicate where the wrong side of the fabric is so that you don't use the right side in place of the wrong side or vice versa. I ended up cutting out 2 different sizes, so I decided to make it 2 different sizes since I don't want to waste any part of the fabric. It's my design, so I can play around with it however I want. You can do the same thing with yours. So I've gone ahead to join them. Okay, this is the front lower bodice. I have joined it, and this opening, that's the slit, I'm going to hem it with half of an inch folded twice. This is the larger part of it, and look at how it's going to be. Okay, this is going to be pleated on the body. I've joined the back piece as well. This is the back. I've sewn this zip allowance all the way to the down part, leaving only the opening where the zip will stop. And then this is the upper bodice, the front. Okay, this is it. The right side, I have joined it, but I have not ironed it. But if you notice, I made cuts close to the seam line so that when I iron it, it will give me a neat finishing at the end. So I'm going to iron this, but then I have to also sew the neckline. So I'm going to go ahead and sew this. From here, from the top here, I'm going to sew it all the way, and then I'm going to top stitch it on the lining piece before I will go ahead and then sew the side. Okay, and sew the side, and also sew this top as well. I'll cover here with 1/2 an inch and sew here all the way to the armhole, and then before we can start attaching it to the lower bodies. Okay, this is the back piece. This is the back piece. I have also taken out the darts, and this is the rope for the back, the rope that is going to extend all the way to the front for making the knots on the shoulder. I'm going to turn it inside out so I can place it here. So using my loop turner, I'm just going to pass this through. And I'm supposed to iron this place before I attach it. Okay, but I'm going to attach it and iron them afterwards. So I'm going to place this here, somewhere around here. So I'm going to, so I have 6.3 here, so from here I'll measure 6.3 as well. This is 6.3. So I'm going to start placing this one from there. And then you can take the lining and place it like so. So I'm going to go ahead and sew this. So I'm going to sew the both of them, turn it up and top stitch it before I can start attaching it to the lower bodies. So I can just pin this down like so. Now let's come down to the down part again, this time to add the pocket that I cut out. So I'm going to come down from here by 3 inches, and I'm going to take the pocket. Okay, I cut out 4 pieces of it. I'm going to just start attaching it. And then this place as well, I'll measure it from here. I'll repeat the same thing on the front piece, and then go and just match it like this so that I can open it up and iron it before I start attaching this to the upper bodice. This is the back piece. I've attached the rope and top stitched it, and here is the second part. I've also attached it and top stitched it as well, so you top stitch on the wrong side. This is the front piece. I have also done the same thing, top stitch it and sew the armhole. Also make cuts around the curved part of the armhole so that it will be easier for you to iron it and it will lay perfectly. So I'm going to turn it inside out, and then I'm going to be attaching the lower bodice. So here I've ironed it, as you can see, and I've ironed here as well. So this is the front, and this is the upper bodice for the front. This is how it came out. So this particular lower bodice, we are going to be pleating it on the upper bodice. So to do that, I'm going to lay the lower bodice on top of the upper bodice. Using my pins, I'm going to indicate the middle of the upper bodice and the middle of the lower bodice, and then I'm going to join them middle to middle before I can start pleating. Okay, so I'm going to place this center to center, pin it together as one, and then I'm going to start pleating. So you decide what direction your pleat is going. So the beginning, you're going to pin your sewing allowance. So I'm pinning a sewing allowance of 1 inch, and then I'm going to start pleating on the other, on the remaining part of it. So this is what I have after pinning it. Okay, I've pinned the down part to the up side. This is what I have. Just pin everything to one direction, and this is it. So I'm going to go ahead and sew this, and I'll pin the back pieces as well. So these are the back pieces. I have also ironed them and ironed the rope. As you can see, this is the back and this is the right side. This is the zipper side. Put this one underneath and then start pinning it like this. So you pin this zip allowance first, 1 inch. Place this one here. Pin the sewing allowance because you are not pleating there, and then pleat a little bit close to it. So I'm going to go ahead and sew, and I'll pin the other side as well. Okay, so I've gone ahead to sew it, and this is it. Alright, so I'm going to hem here and hem the down parts. Okay, and then for the back, I'm going to join the zipper. So I'm going to go ahead and sew the zipper before I will join the back and the front together. So I have sewn the zipper, and this is how it looks at the back. Very beautiful. This is the wrong side. So I'm going to be joining the back and the front now. So I'm just going to go ahead and sew with 1 inch sewing allowance from here all the way and go down, and I will sew from here all the way down, and I will show us the finished work of this. If at this point you have not subscribed to my channel, what are you waiting for? Go ahead and hit the like button and subscribe, and of course don't forget to turn on your notification bell so you get notified whenever I drop a new tutorial. Thank you guys for watching to the end of the tutorial. See you in my next tutorial. Bye bye.